So this was 3-3. It said rewrite and simplify. The thing with these logs is there's going to be more than one way to do these, okay? So I'm not going to tell you have to, unless it said something like condense and simplify. I'm not going to make you do it one way or the other. I'm going to show you 2 ways to do the first one, but there's probably even more than that. If it said expand, you would have had to separate it out as log base 5 of 1 minus log base 5 of 125. And then log base 5 of 1 is what? 0. And log base 5 of 125 is what? 3. So this would have been -3 that way. You could have also just said, what do I raise 5 to get it to become 1 over 125? The 1 over is a negative exponent. The 5 to 125 is 3. So you could have done it that way. I don't care how you do it, okay, as long as you get there at the end. Unless it said expand and simplify. Number 2, again, there's a couple different ways to do it. One is condense it. If I'm condensing and it's addition, this would become multiplication. I could have simplified by adding those exponents and then ln and e cancel just to give you the exponent. Or I could have simplified each of them individually. Ln of e to the second is just 2. Ln of e to the fifth is just 5. And either way you get 7. So however your brain sees it, hopefully it's one of those ways. However your brain sees it, go with it. Just make sure it's as simplified as it can get. All right, then obviously expanding on 3 and 4, you had to do it the way it said. If I expand this out, it started as multiplication, which means it would be addition. And you cannot leave an exponent when we expand. We bump this forward. So it'd be ln x plus ln y plus 2 ln z. Questions on that one? Mm-hmm. Right. And then 4, you've got multiplication and division here. Whatever's in the bottom gets a minus, whatever's in the top gets a plus. So this would be log base 5 of x squared minus log base 5 of y squared minus log base 5 of z to the third. And then all those exponents bump to the front. So 2 log base 5 of x minus 2 log base 5 of y minus 3 log base 5 of z. Make sure you bump the exponents. Like if you only did part of it, you can get some partial credit, but you have to make sure it's all the way expanded to get the full credit. Yeah.
Should I expand it more to do like 2 and then in parentheses the first 2?
No, you don't need to take the 2 out. Good question. No, you don't need to take it out. Questions? So this one, listen, shh. The first one, these are your exponential. Remember, you're getting 1 exponential and 1 log on your quiz, and then all the parts that it asked for, you're going to also be asked for. So when it's exponential, you're plugging in for the x. You guys overall did pretty good on this one. You plug in -1, 0, and 1. You should have gotten 1, -2, and then -2 and 3/4. The horizontal asymptote is what you're looking for here. It's based on the vertical shift. This time there was a vertical shift down 3. No vertical shift, horizontal asymptote is x equals 0. A vertical shift, and it is x equals whatever the shift is. So there was a shift down 3 here. Horizontal asymptote is not x equals, sorry, y equals -3. Then your domain for all exponential functions is -infinity to positive infinity. The range is based on that asymptote, which is -3 to 0. And then your y-intercept comes from that middle point on your graph, on the t-chart or your graph, which was 0, -2. Again, overall, pretty good on that one. The second one, also overall, decent. Watch when you're plugging stuff in. So when you plug in the -1, it's 5 to the 1 minus a -1. That becomes 5 squared. You should have gotten 25, 5, and 1. Horizontal asymptote this time is at 0. Range is at 0. Domain, all real numbers, and the y-intercept at 0, 5. 3 is where it started to get a little bit shaky. So when I convert this log, it's y equals log base 2 of x minus 1 minus 2. You have to isolate the log by itself first. The parentheses stays with the log, but this 2 has to move. So it's y plus 2 equals log base 2 of x minus 1. Then the 2 picks this up, so 2 to the y plus 2 equals x minus 1. Then you add the 1, and I'd get 2 to the y plus 2 plus 1 equals x, and that's what you're plugging into. Your coordinate points should have been 3, -1, 5, 0, and 9, 1. You have a vertical asymptote based on this parentheses. X equals 1 is your vertical asymptote, which shifts your domain 1 to positive infinity. Range for all logs, -infinity to positive infinity. And the x, God bless you, intercept is coming from the middle of your t-chart or your graph, which is 5, 0. You have to graph your asymptote to get full credit for these graphs, and then obviously plot your points. Yeah.
What if the asymptote is like on a 0?
Then you draw it.
Line?
Just a dash line. Yeah, if you want to use colored pencils tomorrow, you can use colored pencils. Somehow you have to make sure that, and it's got to hug that line. So like the last one, you had to get close enough to that line to take that shape. You have to isolate it first. So I have to get rid of this too. So this becomes y. This would be y plus 2 equals log base 2 of x minus 1. Then I convert it to exponential, so the 2 picks up both the y and the plus 2. And then it drops off, leaving the x minus 1. Then I add the 1, and that does not happen in the exponent. And now I plug in for my y's. So you have to isolate the log first before you can convert it. On the next one, there's a negative first you got to get rid of. So you have to move that 2, then convert it, and then add the 1 at the end. And then go from there. Last one is where it got a little hairy. All right, so this would have been y equals negative log x plus 2. You have to isolate the log before you can get rid of the negative. So I'm subtracting the 2. Y minus 2 equals negative log of x. Still have to get rid of the negative, so divide or multiply by -1. And I get negative y plus 2 equals log of x. The base on that log is a 10. 10 picks up that whole thing. 10, and you could switch it to the 2 minus y or keep it as negative y plus 2, it doesn't matter, equals x, and that's what you plug into. So when I plug in the -1, I get 10 to the first, which is 10. Plug in a 0, I get 10 to the second, which is 100. Plug in the 1, I get 10 to the first, no wait, sorry, I did this the other way around, right? To the -1, it would have been 1,000, sorry. This would have been 2 minus a -1, which is 10 to the third, then to the second, and then to the first. And your vertical asymptote is at 0. You had to graph it. Then 1,000 -1. I don't care if you come all the way over here and you plot it and you say this is 1,000 -1. You need to plot it. And then 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, and 100, 0 somewhere in between. Your curve has to come over here and hug that 0, even if it has to kick out. You have to make sure it hugs the 0 because that's where your curve is happening. So your domain is based on the vertical asymptote 0 to positive infinity, range, all real numbers. Vertical asymptote x equals 0, and then your intercept at 100, 0. Your homework tonight is the quiz review. The answers are posted. You must do it in order to be prepared for tomorrow. If you